Justice Kavanaugh?
You've said several times that it's a difficult policy question, a complicated policy question. I think everyone would agree with that. How does this law help deal with the complicated policy issues?
One of the most difficult challenges is getting people the help that they need, and laws like this allow cities to intervene, and they are an important tool in helping incentivize people to accept shelter. So Ms. Johnson, for example, has said in her deposition, it's in the joint appendix, that she does not wish to stay at the Gospel Rescue Mission. One of the reasons is because of her dog. She also had other reasons. She doesn't like being around people and so forth. People have all sorts of circumstances. It's very complex, and the individual
How does it help
decisions.
if they're not? How does it help the rule here, the law here? How does it help if there are not enough beds for the number of homeless people in the jurisdiction?
So for Ms. Johnson, she sometimes stays with a friend. So there are other.
More generally, though,
yes.
I guess if there's a mismatch between the number of beds available in shelters, even including Gospel Rescue, and the number of homeless people, there are going to be a certain number of people who there's nowhere to go.
That is a difficult policy question. And
how does this law
yes.
help with that policy?
So it encourages people to accept alternatives when they come up so that fewer people end up camping. It also, there is harm in simply camping. Whatever materials people are using when they are living in public spaces without plumbing and infrastructure, there's harm to the whole city and to the whole community as well as to them. We know that encampments and these conditions also breed crime and very dangerous conditions. So the city has an interest in protecting everyone, including...
Do you think the constitutional rule should be different when the number of beds available in the jurisdiction exceeds the number of homeless people versus the number of homeless people exceeds the number of beds available in shelters?
No, that's what we've seen in the Ninth Circuit. We've seen that that is unworkable. There is no way to count what beds are available and who is perhaps willing to take one and who would consider it adequate. Then the question becomes, are those beds adequate? So here, Gospel Rescue Mission.
That's a separate issue, I agree.
It is.
And it can be a challenging issue, I suppose. I know as well. Let me ask one last question, which is, how does the necessity defense differ from the constitutional rule? You touched on this, but I just want to get a succinct answer to that. The state law necessity defense differ from the constitutional rule here.
You would weigh the harm from the individual's conduct in violating the law. So if someone were camping near a school or near or doing something or engaged in some behavior that was particularly harmful, and they had another place where they could camp, that would be maybe a factor that you would raise in the necessity situation. It's narrower. So in a case of the Oregon cases include people who are growing marijuana for medical reasons but without a license, and so the necessity defense was not accepted in that case because they could have obtained a license. So if a person had a friend to go to, had a bed available at the Gospel Rescue Mission, they would be expected to take it under the necessity defense. I think that's how it would play out.
I actually have one last question. When you get out of jail, if you end up, what's going to happen then? You still don't have a bed available, so how's this help?
So I do want to make a point about that, about the criminal aspect. The trespass law here is only triggered after several civil citations.
Right. No,
and
if you run through that cycle and you
yes.
end up in jail for 30 days, then you get out. I mean, you're not going to be any better off than you were before in finding a bed if there aren't, going to my earlier question, if there aren't beds available in the jurisdiction, unless you're removed from the jurisdiction or you decide to leave somehow.
No, there are services available, and the jurisdiction can put you in touch with services and programs to help you in those circumstances. And for many people, that is a point where they're able to get into treatment. So that intervention actually saves lives.
Okay, thank you.